The iPhone 14 Pro and Galaxy S22 Ultra are both known for their cameras. Apple's new phone has a 48-megapixel main sensor and improved photo processing, while the Galaxy S22 Ultra has a 108-megapixel main sensor and better low-light photography compared to older Galaxy phones. I've been using both to see which is better at taking photos, and the answer is a little subjective and depends on your preferences. In my experience, the iPhone does a better job of producing well-balanced images, while Samsung has a super close zoom that can't be matched. To test the cameras on both phones, I took the same photos side by side under different lighting scenarios ranging from bright outdoor sunlight to really dark indoor settings. If you want to learn more about the iPhone 14 lineup, be sure to subscribe to check out our full reviews. The iPhone 14 Pro has three main cameras: a 48-megapixel main camera, 12-megapixel telephoto camera, and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera. The iPhone 14 Pro's new quad sensor can also combine every 4 pixels into one larger pixel in a process called pixel binning, which Android phones like those made by Samsung have been using for a long time. Pixel binning essentially creates a smaller number of higher quality pixels since it combines data from multiple pixels. The iPhone 14 Pro also uses a new photo processing technique Apple calls photonic engine, which applies Apple's Deep Fusion computational processing earlier in the process to improve color and detail in low light. The Galaxy S22 Ultra has a 108-megapixel main camera, 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera, and two 10-megapixel telephoto cameras. One of the biggest improvements that Samsung made with the Galaxy S22 Ultra has to do with the way it takes photos in low light. There's also a new technique called adaptive pixel, which combines pixel binning with the resolution from the main sensor for high-quality photos. It's no surprise that both phones did a great job of capturing photos in bright, sunny circumstances. These photos of an ice cream truck and a sidewalk mural both look colorful and crisp. But you can really see the difference in the way these phones capture color and texture in this photo of ducks on a beach. Samsung's photo is brighter and makes the color of the river and sand pop more, but Apple's photo has more detail and texture in the sand and shards of glass on the shore. If you want a phone with the closest zoom possible, the Galaxy S22 Ultra is it. Samsung's high-end phone can zoom at up to 100 times digitally and 3 or 10 times optically. The iPhone 14 Pro can zoom up to 15 times digitally and 3 times optically. You can see what a difference this makes in these photos of a highway sign in the distance. Yes, the Galaxy S22 Ultra's photo is pretty blurry and it was really hard to focus while taking this photo, but it's also so much closer than the iPhone's by a long shot. That said, I do think the iPhone took a better photo at a much more realistic 10-time zoom. The text on the sign is brighter and bolder than in Samsung's photo. When it comes to portrait mode photos that blur the background to make the subject appear sharper, the iPhone wins. The subject's eyes and skin color are more accurate and the background also looks more natural. But without portrait mode turned on, I actually liked the Galaxy S22 Ultra's photo better. It just captured more detail. Both phones can take relatively bright photos in the dark thanks to night mode. To try this out, I turned off most of the lights in my apartment and took this photo of my cat sleeping. The iPhone's photo is definitely brighter, but when I looked at these photos side by side on my 27-inch monitor, Samsung's photo had a lot more detail and looked more focused. The iPhone 14 Pro and Galaxy S22 Ultra are also both pretty good at taking close-up macro shots. This photo of a flower is packed with color and detail, and each photo has its own strengths and weaknesses. I love how the iPhone's photo has more depth, but the color also looks a bit overblown compared to Samsung's photo. Each phone also has an ultra-wide camera with a 120-degree field of view for capturing broader scenes. Most of the time, I thought photos looked equally clear and colorful. But in this one photo taken at a park, I noticed some lens flare in the right corner of Samsung's image. I also think the trees just look more vibrant and colorful in the iPhone's photo. Since the Galaxy S22 Ultra and iPhone 14 Pro are both made to emulate pro-level photography, you can shoot in the RAW file format on both devices. But the process of doing so is a little different. The iPhone 14 Pro has a setting built right into the camera app called Pro RAW, which combines the level of customization you get with a RAW file with some of Apple's own computational photography. Samsung offers a downloadable app called Expert RAW, which lets you take RAW photos and also includes more granular controls for adjusting elements like the ISO, shutter speed, and white balance while shooting. I shot the same scene using Apple's ProRAW setting on the iPhone 14 Pro and Samsung's Expert RAW app on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. The whole point of shooting in RAW is that it gives photographers more freedom to edit different elements of the photo that they might not be able to access otherwise. So I edited both photos in Adobe Lightroom on each phone. I turned down the highlights, boosted the shadows, and made some other minor adjustments to the Galaxy S22 Ultra's photo. On the iPhone, I turned up the exposure, contrast, and shadows. Both images are rich with detail and color, but you can tell how each phone processes color a little differently. Another one of the iPhone 14 Pro's headlining features is Action Mode, which brings better video stabilization to the iPhone. Samsung has its own equivalent called Super Steady, although it only records at up to 1080p, while Action Mode can record at 2.8K resolution. Take a look at these video clips that I took while running. The iPhone's is a bit more stable, but they're both pretty impressive. The iPhone 14 Pro and Galaxy S22 Ultra both have excellent cameras, but they excel in different ways. In my experience, the iPhone is better at portrait mode photos, ultra-wide landscape photos, and macro shots. But the Galaxy S22 Ultra zoom is impossible to beat, and I liked how much detail it was able to capture in night mode. So which camera do you think is better? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our other upcoming comparisons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.